everyone, and welcome to a special edition of ESPN FC. We are coming to you live from the Allianz Arena here in Munich, Germany, because in less than 24 hours, it's the big one in the Bundesliga, the Klassiker. Bayern Munich hosting Borussia Dortmund. We cannot wait for this fixture and talk about Avengers Assemble. Just look at the crew that we have assembled here. I'm Alexis Nunes alongside Stewart, Robson, who's always dapper, and pitch side we have got Archie, Rhind-Tutt, as well as Nedum and the great Didi, Hamann. Now, Didi, you know I have to start with you because you have played in this fixture, and we know that Bayern Munich, they're leading the Bundesliga table at the moment. They're absolutely flying in the league, unbeaten. So no surprise that they come into this one as favourites. But why is this fixture still so unpredictable to call despite that?
Well, because since Niko Kovac took over 6 months ago, it's a different Borussia Dortmund. They were in the bottom half of the table. He got him into fourth to qualify for the Champions League, still unbeaten in the league this year. Showed a lot of resilience. This is what people always question. Have they got enough resilience and willpower to stand up to the best? They've done it so far in the season. And if it's more of the same tomorrow, I think we're in for a treat.
In for a treat indeed. And speaking of treats, I absolutely love when Archie gives us some juicy storylines. I know you like to stir the pot, Archie. So tell us, what are some of the key storylines that you have in mind heading into this one?
It's a really interesting one because both of these two teams are unbeaten, Bayern perfect, and yet Dortmund, despite being unbeaten, have this air about them of, well, it doesn't feel like it, because the two times that they've drawn against St. Pauli and against Juventus, they gave up 2-goal leads. And I think that actually one thing that is really piquing my interest is the fact that you've got a Bayern team without Jamal Musiala, and they've adapted well to it. And you look at the key points of last season in the Champions League against Inter, and they didn't know how to really cope going forward. And you look at a Dortmund team without captain Emre Can, and that had been a common reoccurring topic last season. Oh, but what is happening with Emre Can? Is he being weighed down by the burden of the captaincy? And I think that actually, I would say that there have been some benefits to the fact that Musiala's been missing for Bayern and the fact that Emre Can's not been there for Dortmund. Am I saying that they are a better team without Jamal Musiala? No. But I think that they are learning new things which will help them for the second half of the season. Because he's got this strong hand of, look, guys, I saved you from not qualifying from the Champions League. He can say, actually, you know what? I picked the team here. I've got a very strong hand, so I can do what I like. Did he?
I hate to say, but I think he's got a point, Nedum.
I hate that you said it as well, I'll be honest.
No, I think Bayern, without Musiala, obviously he'll be coming back in the next couple of months, hopefully. I think they've got a better flow to their game, because he hangs on to the ball sometimes, for me, too long. And with Gnabry, who's very rarely played the position because it was occupied, because Musiala played it, I think they've got a better flow to the game. In Dortmund's case, I think we've got that discussion for the last 2 or 3 years. He's been made captain a couple of years ago. Then he was out injured. He didn't bring him back straight back into the team. So that Emre Can is an ongoing discussion that goes on in football Germany. But I agree with you as well, because Schlotterbeck missed the last end of the season. They still got the points. Anton developed into a real leader of the team. And I think when Can is back, or will be back, I think it'll be hard to get back in the team.
Stewart, what are you thinking?
Well, I go with the Emre Can view as well, because last season, before Kovac took over, Emre Can was playing at times in a back three. He'd go back from the holding midfield position into in between the two centre halves, and it caused major problems because he can't run. So when they lost possession, they had 3 players that quite often weren't very mobile, couldn't run, and they were easily counter-attacked. And I don't think that Emre Can bought them that much in possession. He wasn't a midfield player that got on the ball and sprayed his passes from one side of the field to the other. He was more of a defensive midfield player that can't run. And when you can't run, you've got a problem when you've got your 2 fullbacks, as it was under the previous manager, high up the field, and just 2 centre-backs, and you've dropped in between them. And that has been rectified with him not in the side. They look much more solid, they look far more disciplined, and they look a better team all round.
Nedum, have the guys convinced you now with their arguments? Because I know you were a little bit on the fence there.
On the fence? No, I just wanted an explanation. I don't think Archie should be allowed to just say whatever he wants and not explain it. But I think since Didi has agreed with it, I'm very comfortable taking that side as well. Fair play.
All right, well.
Fair play.
Nedum doesn't seem too sure there. But Robert, let me come to you. We heard Didi talking about this. Of course, the fact that he has played in this fixture himself. It is a huge rivalry. Some will argue not the original rivalry, which we know included Borussia Mönchengladbach. But over the last couple of years, this has been sort of the measuring stick in terms of whether or not we will be getting a title race. Bayern now 4 points clear at the top of the table, but Dortmund always trying to keep pace with them now. Even though Bayern go into this one as heavy favourites, do you feel like it still is a tough one to call?
It's tougher to call this season than it would have been last season, although there were
Why
two
is
draws. But because Bayern are playing some exceptional football, they're scoring lots of goals, and they're a better team than Dortmund. Dortmund, to get anything out of this game, will have to be at their very best. Niko Kovac will have to get his tactics absolutely spot on, and every player will have to play to his maximum. You know, and they've got to cause problems. They've got to be good defensively. They've got to be disciplined. The front players have got to cause all sorts of problems on the counter-attack, which I'm not sure they're always going to do. So you still would say that Bayern Munich are favourites, but I think this will be a much closer game than it has been maybe in a couple of other years.
Archie, and if we're looking at it from the Dortmund perspective now too, if Dortmund are to actually take the game to Bayern, how do they do it? How can they get a win out of this one? Because if we look at the last, I think, 26 Klassikers, well, they've only won 4.
One thing I think that's started to go in their favour has been luck here in the past 2 seasons. There have been some moments in the game where I've thought, when Valdemar Anton lobbed the ball over his own goalkeeper and it hit the bar last season at 1-0, I would have thought, in previous years, that's going straight in. That when there's a VAR check, when Dortmund won here by 2-0 in the 90th minute, I don't care how offside it was or wasn't, that would have not counted for them. And I think that these little mental things start to play a role in a player's mind. But I think it's also dependent on what kind of team that Niko Kovac picks tomorrow. Will he go with a midfield 5, perhaps? Maybe going with Pascal Gross and taking out one of Karim Adeyemi or Maximilian Bayer? And on the right-hand side, one of the biggest winners for Dortmund so far this season has been Jan Couto in the right wing-back role. He really struggled to adapt after arriving from Girona last season, and yet now wing-back is the role that he was brought in to play. And I think that is really crucial to Dortmund's evolution. So I'm interested to see how that works on a tactical level.
I think from my standpoint, I'd like to ask you two, from the mentality from Kovac, would he be coming here to not lose or coming here to win? Because surely that's going to affect the team selection now.
Well, I think one thing he did do since he came to the club, because they were 11th in the league last year when he took over in February or March. And they got 20 points out of the last 8 games. They won 6, drawn 2, which made sure they got into the Champions League, finished 4th. So I think what he did do since he got there, he instilled belief into the team, because there was always one thing, because sometimes when you saw Dortmund playing these big games, afterwards you said, well, they lost the game probably before they started because they didn't believe they can get a result. So one thing is for sure, regardless who he picks tomorrow, they come out tomorrow out of the tunnel thinking and knowing we've got a chance to get a result. I probably favour the option with Bayer and Adeyemi, because I think you need pace when Bayern's been so dominant in the first 10 games, 12 games of the season.
The reason why I think Niko Kovac is well suited to this task is the very reason why he didn't suit Bayern Munich when he was here as a coach, which is he prefers to be in the underdog role. That's why he, despite winning a double in his first season, he was out already by November of the following season. And that is something that I think suits Dortmund for this task tomorrow, because they will be underdogs. They will have less of the ball, but Niko Kovac relishes that. And most of all, I think most impressively, this is a team where I would say the word togetherness has not been the buzzword whenever you've looked at them. Sometimes when they beat Lille in the Champions League last season and I saw the players celebrating, they weren't even celebrating as a group. And if you've got a team that is not a group, how can you expect there to be discipline? And I don't say, oh, wow, it's all, you know, flowers and sunshine now for Borussia Dortmund. I don't see loads of that. I still think there's a lot of improvement to be done, but there's more of it, and there's enough to give Dortmund belief that they can come here and get a result.
Yeah, I think I agree with sort of things that the two of you said there, and I think there are different types of players, and some do relish the chance of being an underdog, like the manager. I think when you come out to a place like this, probably 99 times out of 100, that's exactly what you'll be. And in terms of how Didi would go for Adeyemi and Bayer, as well as Grosse up there, is you just don't want to be in a position where all you're doing is defending. And when you have no outball, you have no threat, you have to find a way to keep the opposition honest, no matter who they are. And I think with that speed, you'll take a couple of transitions, and before you know it, maybe Bayern are doubting themselves. But I think if you set up to just be defensive, I think the game will essentially pass you by, and the quality that Bayern have, if they take the lead, like what happens next?
Well, what I would say is that you'll see how Dortmund are going to approach the game by the back three. Now, if the back three for Dortmund say, OK, our wide players, Bensebaini, who's on the left-hand side, will go up against Elise. And on the right side, Anton will go up against Diaz. If they do that, they've come to make it a real fight. They're going to try and outnumber them in midfield. They're going to stay with the three up front, and they're going to make a game of it. If they say to their wing-backs, you come back and mark Diaz, and you come back and mark Elise, they're going to have two centre-halves free, doing nothing. So they're going to be outnumbered in midfield. They're not going to have enough of a threat going forward. So that's going to be the key for me. Right from the early stage of the game, who is going to pick up Bayern's wide players? Is it going to be the central defenders going wider or the wing-backs dropping deeper?
All right, well, while I have Robbo here as well, full of voice, Robbo, I want to ask you about a specific Bayern Munich player. Of course, there's been a number of names that have been shining, whether it's Gnabry, whether it's Elise, but the one that is shining the brightest, no surprise, is Harry Kane. Once again, it seems like he's just tumbling goal-scoring records for fun in this one, but we're also not just seeing him putting the ball in the back of the net, but he's also becoming a lot more creative, more in terms of that playmaker.
But this is. I'm sorry to have a go at Archie. I know Archie believes this is the case, that Harry Kane keeps coming deeper and deeper and deeper. Did he ever watch Spurs play? Harry Kane dropped into midfield most of the game and set up a Song who had made runs. When he first came to Bayern Munich, that's what he was doing with Leroy Sané and Gnabry when they were playing in wide areas. He came short, he got on the ball and turned it into the space, and people ran onto it. This is nothing new. I know Harry Kane said...
You don't feel like he's hit another level?
No, he's hit another level in terms of his fitness. He looks sharper this season. He looks a better player this season, not just a goal scorer, but his actual position isn't any different to what it used to be. He did it at Tottenham, he's done it at Bayern, and he's doing it now. That's not the issue.
Archie?
I know what you tried to say, Archie.
I don't believe I said that he'd never done it before. I think the point is he's doing it more at Bayern than ever before.
No, it's wrong.
It's not. It's not wrong for what he's doing at Bayern.
But it's wrong for what he was doing at Spurs. And when he first came to Bayern, he was dropping a lot deeper.
Talking about Spurs,
and other players were making runs beyond him. If you think of the first game he ever played, the league game against Werder Bremen, I think it was, and he came short and he spun the ball in behind. Leroy Sané made a run from outside to in, and they did that for the early part of his career at Bayern Munich.
So the dynamic is exactly the same as when Jamal Musiala was here then, was it?
In terms of Musiala had freedom to run beyond him, he did it on many occasions.
There is Harry Kane with Serge Gnabry there.
But Harry Kane came shorter. But it's the wide players that we're talking about making runs in. Serge Gnabry can do it from that position, but it's all the players have to make runs beyond it. And Harry Kane has always come deep to set up the play. There's nothing new. And that's what we were saying. Yeah. Has he changed his game? No, he hasn't changed his game. What you're trying to now say is that Bayern have changed their game because of it. And got different players making the runs.
I don't
think that's the case.
If I could be the third party here.
Yeah, go on.
I think from what you were saying, this was part of the discussion when we talked about almost like addition through subtraction.
Yeah.
And I think the tendencies that Musiala have are different to where now, as you said, Harry Kane finds different spaces which maybe would have been taken up by Musiala in times gone by.
Exactly.
But that's fine. You've made your point. I get you.
No. All right. Well, we'll just leave it right there. Plenty more of this discussion and more when we actually have the Klassiker. Like I said, less than 24 hours away now. Make sure to join us before. We have a whole hour of a pre-show as well. Some very special guests along with the usual suspects that you see here. It is Bayern Munich against Borussia Dortmund. 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time is when our coverage begins. So please join us.